What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another video. So, once again, we have a brand new Switch game that was recently released, and from the moment that this was revealed in the initial Switch presentation back in January of this year, I've wanted to play it and talk about it and all those different types of things, so we're going to do that right now. So the game we're talking about today is Fire Emblem Warriors, recently released on October 20th, 2017, and I so far absolutely love this game. So if you don't know what this game is, it's essentially a Warriors game or a Musou game that has some Fire Emblem aspects and characters and things like that. So it's a really great mashup of two different series, I think, and I really enjoy it so far. So for me, I've always sort of liked these types of games. A lot of people don't really seem to care for them that much because they can get a little bit repetitive. They can get a little boring, a little bit simplistic, but for me, I don't really care about that. If a game is fun, I don't care if it's repetitive. Of course, fun is subjective, and I guess repetitive could be subjective too. But for me, I've always thought these games were incredibly fun, and I just love playing these different types of games. So essentially what a Warriors or Musou game basically is that you control several different characters on a battlefield, and you sort of run around, you get different orders and different little mini missions or side missions that you have to do in order to complete the ultimate goal of that battle. So a lot of times some of these things will be taking out a fort captain or capturing an area, something like that. And generally a lot of times there are hundreds and hundreds of enemies on screen at one time, and you just basically plow through them like they're nothing. And that's essentially what I really enjoy about these types of games, is that they're just plain fun. You can just kind of get in, just smash a button multiple times and just take out hundreds of dudes in like 10 seconds or so. I don't know, I've just always really enjoyed gameplay like that, and if that makes me a simplistic gamer, so be it. I don't really care. But it's just a super fun series, and again, some people can say it can kind of get repetitive, but for me, I really enjoy it. So if you've ever played any kind of Warriors game in the past, you pretty much already know like what to expect with this game. So like there's Hyrule Warriors that was released on the Wii U, which was sort of a mashup of Zelda and the Warriors formula, which I thought was really fun. I really enjoyed Hyrule Warriors, but I actually do prefer Fire Emblem Warriors a bit more, and we'll talk about that as the video goes on. But like I've played the Hyrule Warriors, I've played Dynasty Warriors on like the PS3, PS4, different things like that. There was also a Switch game called Fate Extella, the Umbral Star, and that sort of follows the same vein as well as the other Warriors games. But that one, I really enjoyed it, but the story was just I didn't really understand what was going on, and I think it's because you have to sort of play the previous games in that series, or I think just one previous game in that series, to really kind of understand what's going on, and I never got that far, but I really did enjoy that game too. But that's essentially is what's going on here with these games. So if you've played a Warriors game in the past, you already basically know what to expect with this one. But of course, being Fire Emblem, there are some different things that this game offers that the other ones don't, essentially. So of course, Fire Emblem is known for its, well, one of the things it's known for is its extremely diverse cast of characters. So you've got dozens of games, several different games that have tons and tons of different characters, and a lot of them are represented here. Even though there are some notable exceptions that a lot of people have voiced their opinions on, most notably Ike and Roy. For me, I don't really care that much. Yes, it would have been cool to have those characters in this game as well, but it's not really a deal breaker, you know, for some people. So I was fine with that. Of course, it would have been nice to have them in there, but we've got such characters such as Marth, we've got Chrom, we've got Frederick, we've got Ryoma, we've got everybody's favorite Camilla, we've got Xander, we've got Leo, we've got all these different characters. And yes, most of them are basically from the Awakening games and the Fates games, but I think there are some from older games as well. The only Fire Emblem games that I've ever played are Awakening, the Fates games, so Birthright and Conquest. I didn't really get to Revelations, but I have played Birthright and Conquest, and I also played the one on the Wii. I can't really remember the name of it at the moment, but I never finished that one, but I did play that one. So I'm assuming that some of the different characters that I don't really know are from some older games, which would be really cool. So you're kind of catering to the newer fans of the series as well as the older fans, which I think is always good. So there are a lot of diverse characters in here, and it's really cool to see them sort of all interacting with each other. I think that's really neat. Speaking of characters, there are actually 2 new characters to the series. I don't know if they'll ever make it to like a mainline Fire Emblem game, but there are some new characters here, so you can see them on the cover. These are the twins. So we've got Rowan, which is the male, and Liana, which is the female. And basically the story kind of centers around those 2 characters, where their kingdom is sort of taken over by these supernatural forces, and the other Fire Emblem characters are kind of there, and they're trying to sort of uncover what's going on and taking out these evil forces. Not the greatest story in the world. I still don't really quite understand like what exactly is going on, but for what it is, I think it's good. Definitely moves the plot forward, which I think is obviously important. So I think that's very cool. So characters, story, all very good, all very decent, and I'm really enjoying it. So now that we sort of talked about that, how does this game play? Well, as I mentioned before, this is basically a Musou game or a Warriors game, so you've got all those aspects of a Warriors game, like I sort of mentioned. The combat is very fast, very speedy, I guess, very fast paced. A lot of different action, lots of different combos that you can do, and just different flashy sort of things like that. So you've got basic weapon types, you've got swords, you've got lances, you've got axes, you've got bows, you've got different classes, much like other Fire Emblem games where you've got, a Pegasus Knight, you've got an archer, you've got like a soldier or a lord, some stuff like that. And each of those classes and each of those weapons plays a vital role in combat. So one of the other really important things, or one of the most notable things about Fire Emblem is the weapons triangle. So I don't entirely know how exactly it goes, but you've got swords, especially in this game, you've got swords, axes, and lances. And so swords beat axes, axes beat lances, and lances beat swords. I think that's what it is. Something like that. And when you are fighting against different enemies that have these different weapons, let's say you are controlling someone who has a lance for a weapon and you're fighting a swordsman, you have the upper hand. So the swordsman won't be able to block as effectively. Their health will dwindle a lot faster. There's a stun meter that pops up, so once they're stunned, then they can't really attack at all. But if you're on the flip side, so if you've got a sword fighter that you're using and you're fighting someone who's using a lance, they'll basically block a lot of your different attacks. The stun meter won't show up. Different things like that. So it's important to sort of pay attention to, if you have to take out a certain enemy and they're using an axe, maybe you shouldn't use a lance or something like that. So it's a really great form of strategy, I think, in trying to take out all these different types of enemies. And it's a really cool mechanic, and it's something that I don't really think has been in any other Warriors games in the past. So I think that's kind of a nice addition. And again, it's putting a Fire Emblem spin on the series, which is, of course, sort of what this game is kind of supposed to be doing in a way. So I thought that was a really nice addition as well. So one other great thing about the Fire Emblem series is that strategy and tactical movements are extremely important. And before the start of each battle, you are presented with a map, and you've got all your units on the map here, and you can see all of the enemy units as well. And you can kind of see what level the enemy units are. You can see what level your own characters are, sort of their health, their HP, their different strengths and stats and things like that. And you can order them to move wherever you want them to on the battlefield. So let's say you have to take over a fort, or you have to take out a certain enemy or something like that. You can sort of funnel all of your characters, you can order all of your characters onto that one singular point, and you can choose to attack that fort or attack that enemy, stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. So once you initiate those movements, your characters will move on their own to that actual spot and start attacking that enemy or holding down that fort or something like that. And I think that's really cool. I think that's a really interesting mechanic of tying a really big aspect of the Fire Emblem series into the Warriors context. And I think that's really cool. Another great thing is that you can really, within some parameters and things like that, You can't really do it all the time, but a lot of times you can swap between the different characters that are in your party. So like early on, you've got you can pick one of the twins to sort of be your main character, I guess. So you can have one of them, you can have Crom, you can have Lissa, and then Frederick. And once you are on the battlefield and you're fighting, you can swap between each of those characters at any time. And of course, they might be in different spots on the map. So let's say you're in the northeast corner and something really important is happening in the southwest corner. And you're up in the northeast and you're controlling stuff and you're doing things, and something, all of a sudden you got to go to the northwest or the southwest corner. But you're all the way over there, it's going to take forever to get down there. But if one of your other characters is sort of within that vicinity, you can switch to them and go to that area, which I think is really cool. I just think it's a cool mechanic and just such a cool thing that this game really does really well. So different things like that. There's also different collectibles you can get. Sometimes when certain parameters are met, a character will pop out, and I think her name is Anna, and she will basically give you some different rewards and things like that. I don't entirely know what they are because I haven't really done much with that, but there's something like that. You can collect new weapons, so anytime that you like defeat a particular enemy, one that's of high influence, I guess, so like a fort commander or like a captain or something like that, a lot of times they'll drop items. You can pick them up. They're either, vulneraries, or I think I'm saying that right, different items, things like that, different weapons, and you can go in between each battle and sort of optimize your character to how you want them to play, or what different items they possess. So again, very similar to the just regular Fire Emblem games, where you can kind of go in, you can forge weapons, which you can do in other Warriors games too, and you can assign attributes and certain skills to certain weapons for certain characters. You can level them up. And there's just a lot of different like RPG elements within this, which I think is really cool, which again, Fire Emblem is basically, it is an RPG. And so I think it's awesome to have those sort of same aspects within Fire Emblem Warriors. Just giving your characters different options, giving them a different weapon. So like, let's say you're using a D rank weapon and you find a rank C weapon. If their level is high enough, or they have enough crests available, so you've got like attack, defense, and some other kind of crest, I can't really remember, but you can sort of level those up like a skill tree. So once you get a weapon that is a little bit better, and you've unlocked that option in the skill tree, you can equip that character with that weapon, which will ultimately make them stronger in battle. So there's always an incentive to collect different things. There's always an incentive to take a look at your characters, see where they're at, and see how you can ultimately shape them into a different fighter or a different warrior or something like that. So again, really, really awesome mechanic there, which I think is really great. So we talked a little bit about the combat, a little bit about the whole concept of it. How does it play? Well, it plays extremely well. The Warriors games have always had, again, like I said earlier, fast-paced action, a lot of stuff going on at one time, lots of different submissions popping up and things like that. The game runs very well. It's very fast and speedy. The load times are, they're not super quick, but they're not super slow either. They're in no way, shape, or form terrible loading time, so I don't think that's really going to bother anybody. Another really cool feature that this game has to offer, and you don't really see it too much with consoles, I don't think, but there are some different like visual modes that you can do. So there's performance mode and quality mode, and basically what those mean is that quality mode, the game runs at 1080p 30 frames per second, and performance mode runs at 720p 60 frames per second. So you can kind of choose which version of the what's the word, the how it looks for lack of a better term, how it looks compared to you can choose how it looks based on your preference. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's say that you want the fast-paced action, you want the 60 frames, you don't really care about resolution. You can choose the performance option, so things will run a little bit more smoothly. Textures won't really look as sharp, but the fast-paced action is even more fast-paced and responsive. But if you want the best visuals that you possibly can, but you don't really care about the frame rate, then the quality option would probably be the best one for you. And I think it's cool that you can kind of pick and choose, which one of those things that you prefer. So for me, I don't really care about resolution all that much. As long as the game's fun and it looks decent, I don't really care what it looks like. So I like to play on the performance option, so 720p, 60 frames. I just like the look of 60 frames better than like 30 frames. If it was strictly 30 frames, I wouldn't care, honestly. But since I kind of have the option, I do like sort of the more smooth frame rate. So for me, that's what I do, but I do think it's awesome that you can kind of pick and choose, which one you prefer. Sort of springboarding off that, the graphics look really good no matter which setting you prefer. The graphics aren't the greatest graphics I've ever seen in my entire life, but they're certainly not terrible. They get the job done. They look great. The character animations look really good. Just how everybody moves and interacts with each other. The characters that have capes, their capes look really cool, like when they're flying around and doing all these different things. They never like clip anything or anything like that. They always act like how you would think a cape would act. And again, that's not really the greatest thing about this game, but it's just kind of the little things like that I think is really, really cool within this game. So yeah, those are basically my thoughts on Fire Emblem Warriors. If you've played a Warriors game in the past and you've liked it and you had fun with it and you're sort of itching to play another game like that, I definitely think Fire Emblem Warriors is a great game for you. If you are strictly a Fire Emblem fan and you don't really care about the Warriors gameplay, I would still suggest picking it up because there are a great amount of sort of some Fire Emblem aspects within here. And, like I was talking about, where you could kind of choose your units, sort of tell them where to go, give orders, things like that. I think that would be really cool if you're a Fire Emblem fan. I think you would find some enjoyment with that. So yeah, I think there's something for both crowds of these different series. And for me, I love both of them. I really enjoy both of them, so I knew I was going to love this game regardless. And if you're just looking for a new Switch game that, I know Odyssey's coming out in 2 days actually, which is nuts. Oh my gosh. I remember just thinking back in January, that's going to take like 1,000 years to get here, and it's going to be here in 2 days. That's just nuts. It's crazy to think about. But if you're looking for a new Switch game, if you're looking for a very action-packed one that plays well, that you basically have a lot of fun with, I definitely recommend picking up Fire Emblem Warriors. There's another quick thing. There are some different difficulty options too. So, like I know some Warriors games I played in the past, I thought they were kind of too easy, but you can change the difficulty for each sort of scenario or chapter, which I think is really cool. So there is that too. Again, lots of different customization options, lots of different replayability. There is a history mode that unlocks too. I haven't unlocked it yet, but it's essentially where I think you can kind of go in and just sort of play around with different scenarios. I might be totally wrong on that. If I am, I'll try and leave a comment in the comment section or even in the description talking a little bit more about history mode. But like I said, I haven't unlocked it yet, but it does seem like there is a lot of value within this game and a lot of replay value and things like that. So for $60, I can definitely see myself getting my $60 worth out of this game, and I've been having a ton of fun with it. I'm actually going to go play it right now. I don't really have much else to do today, so I think I'm just going to spend quite a bit of the afternoon just playing it, just because it's plain fun, and I love this series. I love both series, and it's just a really great game. So check out Fire Emblem Warriors if you haven't yet. If you love Fire Emblem, if you love the Warriors games, I definitely recommend it. It's a ton of fun. Great graphics, great gameplay, lots of awesome content, lots of replay value, and there's just so much to this game. It's crazy. Sometimes you think of Warriors games, you don't really think there's much depth in them, but this one definitely has a lot going for it. So I can't recommend this game enough. It's super fun. I'm having a blast with it, and even after Odyssey comes out, I will definitely be coming back to this because it's just so much fun. So there you have it, Fire Emblem Warriors for the Nintendo Switch. There is also a 3DS version, well, I should say a new 3DS version. So if you don't have a Switch yet and you have a 3DS and you want to, you're curious about this game, sort of similar to what Hyrule Warriors Legends was on the 3DS, you can kind of check that out too. But of course, the visuals won't nearly be as good, but you can check that out. But definitely, if you have a Switch, you're looking for an action-packed game, you're looking for a Warriors-type game, you love Fire Emblem, can't go wrong with Fire Emblem Warriors for the Nintendo Switch. So yeah. Alright guys, that's going to do it today. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Like I said, I hope to continue making more videos on a regular basis. You know, I am in school and I do work, so a lot of times it's kind of difficult to, you know, play these games a lot and sit down and talk to you guys about games. But like I said before in my RBI baseball video, I hope we can kind of keep doing this on a somewhat more regular basis. So so yeah, that's going to do it today, guys. And I hope you liked my background, too. I thought I'd kind of change it up. Maybe put my game shelf in the back just to give you guys something something else to look at. I don't know, as opposed to just a blank back wall. So anyway, like I said, that's going to do it today, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Check out Fire Emblem Warriors. Great game. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.